So right off the bat, there are 8 steps within the prioritization for credit management. We got the universal principles of accounts receivable, and we'll talk about each of these categories. Aging analysis, obviously that's a crucial step. Maximizing trade references, streaming credit application processes, effective reporting of strategic insights. I got a couple case studies for you just to show how a couple other companies have utilized this information. Addressing challenges and solutions, and then just a recap at the end. So right off the bat, universal principles of accounting. The roles within the accounts receivable are typically credit management, cash flow management, customer relations, risk assessment, obviously mitigation, and sometimes legal compliance that you have to deal with. The most known strategies that we are working with are aging reports, payment history analysis, customer importance, negotiations, technology, which we'll get into a little bit later. Obviously, right off the bat, Handle is a technology-focused company, so we can show you a little bit about that as well. Aging reports obviously are categorized within the delinquencies. It shows you your high priority counts or your high large invoice amounts. Payment history analysis shows obviously your late payments and your defaults and kind of how your customers are paying. Customer importance, for those of you that don't deal a lot with that, one of my key things with that is always going out in person with those key accounts, take them to lunch, just get around their office, see what they're into. It helps you kind of bond with those accounts and helps them pay you before other people, in my experience. Negotiating and payment plans. Obviously, if somebody is struggling to pay you, you can negotiate a payment plan. This will help you collect all those old accounts, all the delinquent accounts, as well as not just putting them on credit hold. Typically, if you negotiate a payment plan, you can keep selling on them as long as they're, keeping up with their plan. Legal action, always a last resort, but you still should keep it something that you consider. If you're in construction, you already have your lien rights. If for some reason you missed those lien rights, you obviously have an attorney that you can go to. My favorite is anything under about 20 to 15,000. You can go to small claims. That's a lot of fun, getting in front of those judges. Most of the time, the debtors don't show, so you get default judgments. So it's just a lot of fun experience if you have that balance of accounts. And leveraging technology, using the accounts receivable programs out there. I know a lot of you already have programs that you're utilizing. If you're not yet, you really should look at some. It makes your processes so much easier. It automates all those little things that you have to do, all the dates that you have to monitor. It gives you so much more freedom to work on other stuff. So the crucial strategy for aging analysis, obviously you have these reports that you typically pull that have them separated out into 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. If you deal with the construction, it helps you watch your lien right deadlines and that sort of thing. The types of reports, obviously, that accounts receivable use is this aging report. The report provides the clearest information that you can utilize for lien tracking customer sales, providing maybe more risk assessment. If you don't have a lot of accounts that are delinquent, you're probably not doing a lot of risk assessment. If you have accounts that are more delinquent, you typically are taking that chance and following the legal steps and the deadline tracking in order to make those bigger sales. I was always told if my accounts are current, then I'm not taking enough risk. So I know a lot of people do work that way. Why are these reports important? They do help you spot problems early, helps your company manage the cash flow in and out, and like I said, make better decisions on the accounts. Implementing these, obviously, the accounting software, which I've mentioned a few times, but there is also just policies and procedures within your company that you can utilize to manage these reports. Maximizing trade references. I don't know if a lot of people still use these. When I was back doing credit management, we had the form, which you would fax to somebody if those machines are even around anymore. When you started getting more into the industry, using the industry credit groups, like the NACM, the CFDDs, anytime I needed a reference, I just ignored that form. I sent an email out to all my clients, or my contacts, which in an email, it was probably 500 to 800 different people that I sent that out to. And within like 5 to 10 minutes, I would already get 6 trade references back. So there are different ways you can utilize that. You don't have to fax the form or email the form and wait. You just have to build those relationships. A couple techniques for getting these reports, like I said, is the email, just making the phone call. You actually get more information if you do a phone call. Like me, I wouldn't put anything in writing. So the trade references were kind of pointless. But if somebody was talking to me on the phone, I would tell them if, hey, they're getting a divorce right here, or, the sign on their door shows that the company's closed. I know that's private information, so whoever's on the legal side of this, I apologize for saying that. But there are different ways to get information on the companies. For streamlining credit applications, you want to make sure that you are having a standard credit app. If you don't have a standard credit application, you should work with your attorney and get one. Every standard credit application for your company will have the terms and conditions. You want to make sure that when you use a credit application, you get that credit application back signed and make sure they haven't crossed out any of your term conditions or edit anything, just to make sure your processes and procedures for these credit applications are the same for every customer. You will verify all the information, obviously, to see that it's filled out, run your credit reports, use your trade references. Depending on the amount and your company procedures, you want to make sure you get those financial statements. With the construction side, if it is a job account, like they're buying material for a specific job, getting that information actually can help you process your credit application, because if the job has a full address, your GC, owner information, then you have rights to that. So it gives you a lot more security than just processing a regular credit application. If you can't get the information you want, you can also get personal guarantees. You just want to make sure the personal guarantee is signed by somebody that is authorized by the company to sign it. And then obviously run their personal credit and business owner report to see if you have more room and leeway in making that. If it's a community property state, typically you want to get both people to sign it, but you don't have to. If a husband signs for it and something goes legal, then the wife's assets are responsible as well for the community property. That's just legal advice. I can't give you, that's just advice. I can't give you legal advice, obviously. Great ways to process your credit applications too is talking to your salespeople. I know a lot of credit versus sales topics are out there, but talking with your salesperson, getting information about what they've gathered when they're out there, they get personal conversations with the companies, see what their plans are for the companies. If they just have a $5,000 sale one-time thing, then it's pretty easy to get that through, as opposed to like 500,000, million sort of things, then you'll need more information. To balance the risk and growth in the credit decisions, regular account reviews, monitor payment behavior, and like I said, try to develop those relationships with your customers. It helps them pay you over somebody else, and it'll stay in line with the sales progress that you have working with them. For the effective reporting and leveraging these, reports drive decisions. There's certainly reports every business should use to guide these. So if you utilize technology like Handle, we can handle this as well. You will get the automated help. You can do the lien rights management. You get free job research, waiver and payment compliance, and integrate, like I said, with pretty much every system you have. We work with Vectran, High Radius, Auditoria, all these different companies, to where you can have it all in one central location. And obviously you can review a lot more of this information. Key reports would be balance sheet, income statement, cash flow statement, forecasting reports. A lot of companies will do the forecasting for bad debt, save something on that account unless they in case they have something that goes bad. And ratio analysis. If you guys manage your accounts, say you're a big company and you have teams with the primary credit professionals over a team, you'll use like the AR turnover, the DSO reports. You get a current quick ratio reports. There are a lot of different things that you can use to see what's going on in your accounts, see what's going on with the person that's handling that territory, and make more decisions on, say, credit holds and not releasing orders or even increasing their credit line. Don't want to beat a dead horse, but like I said, the technology is a big part of this. A couple case studies that we have, and I apologize, I'm talking really fast, so I'll try and slow down a bit here. But there are diverse examples. There are a lot of information. You can actually get them from your peers that are out there just so you can see what they're doing for their processes and procedures. The first case study I have is a small supplier of stone and masonry materials within a suburban area. They faced a lot of delays of payments. It was a small area, not a lot of competition. So their customers could impact their cash flow. If they weren't getting paid on time, if they had any issues, then it made a real difference on them. Or as opposed to a big company, obviously you're used to those delayed and you can take a hit. These smaller companies really can't. It unfortunately causes a lot of bankruptcies. So we like to get around that. So their challenge, they lacked a structured approach to managing their accounts, leading to inconsistent payment collection and uncertain cash flow. So utilizing these different things, the different reports, the different steps, they were able to develop a straightforward and clear credit policy. If you don't already have one in place, you want to make sure you get it written and in front of everybody, and obviously make sure you train them on how to deal with it. Make sure you got reviews on that so you keep checking to see if it's actually working for your company. And if not, you can make adjustments as necessary. They did manual credit checks. They never worried about their credit applications. They would get them in, just kind of pushed them aside and started making sales. That kind of good handshake thing where you trusted somebody to pay. Well, it didn't work for them, obviously, so they started doing manual credit checks. Every credit application that came in, they wanted to make sure it was signed, that they verified the information, they got the references and credit reports that they needed to get. They set clear payment terms with their customers, and then they enforced them. It wasn't just taking their word, oh, I'll pay in a week, I'll pay in 2 weeks. They actually enforced their credit terms. They did get an automated AR system. We got invoice reminders, payment letters for delinquencies, different calls were made. They used the accounting software. Some of it will be like an AI where it could type in the same information that you did. But if you don't have something that tracks your dates, tracks your aging, I mean, if you're too busy, if you have a lot of accounts, then you do want something that will send automated demand letters if you still use those. Typical feedback I always got is, oh, I don't have the invoice. I never got the invoice. It sends automatic invoice copies out and just says, hey, this one's coming due. Just want to make sure you have it. There's a lot of different things that the automated can do for you. They also had flexible payment options, which was more like negotiating payment. So if somebody couldn't pay, they would negotiate those payment agreements and then continue to sell to them, like I said, as long as they continue to honor those arrangements. The results of all of this, they had reduced late payments, better relationships with their customers, and obviously better cash flow for their company. The second case study that I have is a lumber yard that was having issues selling material to a commercial contractor. The lumber yard lost its lien rights on a major project because they did not have the steps in place. They did not follow when to send the notices, when to file the lien, so they didn't have the proper legal structures. The customer was a great customer, but fell on hard times and couldn't pay. So obviously they needed to figure out how they could recoup this money. So the solution that they found, they consulted their legal expertise, some attorneys, someone just maybe in their same industry group that had a situation similar to this. They were able to negotiate a payment plan that not only worked for the customer, but as well as themselves. They implemented a lien management system to track the deadlines, send the notices. By doing that, they were able to obviously protect their rights. They did staff training so that everybody knew and understood what went wrong and what to do to avoid this same incident in the future. And they built the contingency reserve. Like I was saying before, they had a report where they would save some money for a bad debt, just maybe like 10% of their sales they put into a reserve. So in case they did have a bad delinquency going, they did have the reserve to cover that, so it didn't affect them as much. The results for that is they negotiated the plan, they got the account paid in full, the staff and the customers were aware of what needed to be done, how it needed to be managed, and just made all their accounts can flow more smoothly. Different challenges and solutions are some practical solutions and tips for overcoming just your basic challenges. It kind of requires a mix of strategic planning, efficient processes, and clear communication. So different practical solutions are robust credit policies and procedures. Like I said, make sure that you have them in writing, make sure your employees are trained, and make sure you follow up on them if something isn't working or needs to be changed. And I feel like a broken record saying, again, automate your credit policies, makes it a lot easier on what you're dealing with. Regular account reviews. A lot of companies, they'll open the account and then they'll never review it again. You want to make sure, say, a new owner falls in place. You want to get an updated credit application. So it's been a year or two. You want to make sure that they're still at the same address, that they're still at the same phone number. There's a lot of different things that you want to make sure you have in that. Open communication, like I said, with customers and sales. Talk to your salesmen about the account. See if they know of any changes. They might know that, their customer just had all their trucks repossessed, or say they just bought a bigger location. It can go different ways, but it can get you a lot of information to know how you should manage that account. Data-driven decisions. That's where you would want to make sure you use those ratios. You want to make sure you use those financial statements. You want to make sure that you have the information necessary to make a good decision instead of more the gray lines. I always operated in the gray lines. I took the information and I took my relationships with the customers and kind of based their account off of that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And then the best thing is the customer education. Many times I would meet with a customer and go over their agings. I'd go over their current processes, their accounts that they haven't got paid on. If you work with them, they actually learn a lot more. Teach them the lien rights policies and how to protect their rights on that. Not only does it help them, but it also helps your relationship with them. Makes a big difference. I told you I was going fast. Sorry about that. Conclusion, the legal compliance and importance of legal knowledge, adaptability, and proactivity. Be proactive on these things. Don't be reactive. Balancing financial recovery and relationships, and risk mitigation. The ongoing need for adaptability and learning obviously is never ending. And you want to stay informed of industry trends, economy, best practices, anything that has something to do with what you're dealing with and what your company's industry is in. So hopefully you guys have some questions or feedback or ideas on some of this. I know I spoke fast on that. I do have the slides and I do have the notes that I can send out to y'all, but has anyone dealt with this or dealt with a customer with this, or is there any feedback?
What do you mean by dealt with this?
Like had this kind of situation arise where you had to change your policies and procedures, or say you did go out to a customer and work with them on their accounts, or automated some new technology, anything that relates to, some of these issues and challenges that are dealt with?
Oh yeah, I mean, everybody's definitely trying to automate these days. I was going to ask you, what do you think is the best automated tool out there right now?
Depending on your industry, I'm primarily in construction, so I would definitely want a lien rights management company. Back when I worked for Morsco, is a company that I worked for, we were doing everything ourselves, which obviously worked for me because if it wasn't done, it was my fault. I could make sure that everything was done correctly. Well, then we were forced to use a lien rights management company, and obviously we're fighting it. We didn't like it. We didn't trust it. But oh my gosh, it was amazing. Instead of taking a week to send my notices, to find all the job information, it literally would take me a week every month. I'm in Texas, so we always had the 15th. That was the due date. Once we implemented the software, it wasn't even 2 days. You could just go through and go, yes, 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 no, 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 to whichever ones you wanted to send out. They did all the job research, all the owner research. They managed all the deadlines. So implementing something like that, even if you're against it, I would say look into it, just kind of see what they have to offer. Like us, there's no catch. I mean, if you want to see it, that's great. If you don't want to work with us, we'll still provide that help first content. You can still, all our education, everything is free. It can still help you with tracking stuff, even if you're not ready to try the automation yet. If you're not in construction, there are those companies like High Radius and Vectren and that sort of thing, where they'll still track your automated receivables, and they still will help with your payment deadlines, still help with sending the invoices out. It's tough to convince your management to even look at stuff like this, especially I know a lot of the smaller companies, they get nervous. But once I got forced to do it, I'm so glad, and I've never looked back. I've never had to manually do anything. So in my opinion, it's worth at least checking it out.
Now, your company, you said you do the lien waivers?
We do. So we manage all the lien rights, which is basically you would upload your aging with us or attach the accounts. Like I said, we integrate with Vectren, we integrate with those other companies.
Okay.
So all your information that's automatically with them would transfer over to us. So we would watch, and we're nationwide plus Canada. So we would watch your deadlines. We would make sure that all of the general contractor information was in there, that all the customer owner information was in there. We would make sure that your legal addresses are correct. So we would send out your notices on the deadlines. We would send out your second notices, depending on states, your third. We'd send out stop notices if you wanted to stop on any job. We do waiver compliance. So what that is a proactive approach to your accounts. If you want to send an invoice out, you can automatically send a conditional waiver out with that. So it avoids some steps and some times in making sure you get that waiver back and that payment back. It'll automatically send an unconditional for that invoice if you wanted to set that up as well. We have payment compliance where the customer can actually pay through the same system. So if it goes out or a notice goes out, they can automatically click pay. So a lot of those notices automatically get responses to avoid having to obviously take the next step. I know a lot of customers have issues with credit card fees. So we actually do take credit cards and we monitor those fees. We actually have a relationship with American Express now. Oh, sorry. That helps you in the different fees and that sort of thing. The waiver management is my favorite part, but we also file the liens if needed, and we do help collect on those liens if needed, or at least send out the notices that are demands that say, hey, your lien has been filed, you have to pay within 15 days, that sort of thing. So we pretty much manage everything from start to finish in construction. We do have payment compliance for different industries. But since we're so construction focused, I personally would say, that for this, let's just do the construction side of it, just so there's no confusion. I mean, we can do a demo on the payment side if you're not in construction, so you can take a look, but I'm not sure it totally relates. I'm not sure the system's set up the same way for that. So not trying to talk down handle, but I would definitely use it for the construction side.
California is definitely special when it comes to waivers. Do you deal with a lot of that? Because we've got a certain customer that they require a waiver, like several waivers
for every invoice and every situation. Yeah, there are definitely several states that have different requirements. Like I said, Texas is one, Florida, I mean, they have so many waivers, it's not even funny. But yes, we would handle every single one. However, the state requirements are, the system automatically has that within it. So if it needs to do, 2 waivers for this invoice, or a waiver for the invoice, and then a waiver for the month, and a waiver for the check amount, it does manage all those. So it saves you from having to make sure that you've made those deadlines and that you've done those documents. If they
have their own waivers for those?
You can if you want. I know some states have specific waivers, like Texas passed a law where there's only one conditional, there's only one unconditional, that sort of thing. So there's only 4 waivers that are valid. I'm not sure if California has that as well, but you can accept your customer's waiver. They can upload it automatically into the system so that you're always working off of theirs. It's just how you want to set it up. Anyway, oops, sorry.
I'll definitely be contacting you a little bit more about that.
Awesome. No, I'd love it. Like I said, it is a great system. I actually retired, you could say, from being a credit manager about 5 years ago. And then I was asked to create this community and just kind of share everything that I did with other people that are doing this and letting you guys share with the new generation, that sort of thing. It is a company. The process, like I said, it takes it from 7 days down to one. I mean, it's amazing. It's so easy. It's user friendly. Very quick implementation. If it is something, maybe a month and a half, just a couple of weeks to train you on how to do it, so that you can train obviously your team on how to do it. It's definitely worth checking out. I think you'd really like it. I'm definitely not sales. I'm on the education side, so I'm not trying to sell it on you. Anybody have any questions on it, or maybe comments on your system that you do for your lien rights? I mean, is it still manual, or do you use something else? I know a lot of people will work off Excel spreadsheets too.
Ours is still very manual. It's gotten a little bit easier. I mean, I was literally going through a report, a couple of times a month, 190, 200-page report.
Oh, geez.
Making, I mean, just the things we do. And finally was able to work with one of our IT guys, and he wrote a smart view for me. And, now all I'm doing is, like, I've got red, green, yellow. If something is approaching lien rights, it's in red. It's just, I've got one view. I do a snippet. I send it to my team. And so, I mean, it's just incredible.
I've actually done one of those color coded things too. They're nice. I mean, it does definitely helps you track it.
Yeah.
But it is still manual that way. So I bet you still go to the post office.
No.
No? Okay. Well, that's good. I know a lot of people still get to the post office. They have to stand in line and get those out in the mail, get their little return receipt stamped.
I know. But yeah, definitely better for my eyes for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, but then also what you said about, meeting with customers and developing those relationships, and, getting information from your sales folks. I mean, anybody new that's coming on board with our company always meets with myself or somebody on my team. And, we try to, right from the beginning, get them to partner with us and just let them know, a lot of times you're our boots on the ground. And so if you see something that changes, or hear about, somebody getting a divorce or something like that, something seems not quite right, please let us know. And they're, for the most part, they're pretty good about doing that. So very helpful.
I think that's nice that you do that right off the bat. If the salesperson doesn't trust the person that's handling their account, it makes it real difficult, especially if you want to ask them for help. I know a lot of companies will have the credit people use their salespeople do collections, go pick up checks for them, but ask for the payments. Yeah, I think that's a really bad idea, because you want your salesperson to have that good relationship and be separate from being the collection person, as opposed to the sales. Yeah, they can pick up checks. That's not a big deal, but it's definitely your personal relationship that needs to be with the customer.
Right. Right. Does anybody else have any questions for Lori?
That I can think of right now. Thank you very much for presenting to us.
Yes, thank you so much, Lori.
Absolutely. Like I said, I talk fast. I know I do. So I'll send out the notes for you guys that I have written down. Hopefully it gives you a little more information. And you got all my contact information, so don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or thoughts on this. I like to get your thoughts as well, to change my opinion on this kind of stuff, because obviously I'm not always right. Things change. So it's nice to get outside information as well. And then, like I mentioned before, if you want to become part of the community, I love you guys to teach webinars, help me with some articles, provide quotes, all the fun stuff that you get to share your experience with other people as well. Well, thank you again for having me. If nobody else has any questions, I hope you all have a great day and great holidays, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
All right, Lori, take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.